What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Boyz podcast, episode 7. Still not at full strength, but hey, we'll get there eventually. But look who's back for the first time since episode 2.
Let's go!
Freaking go, boys.
The injury-prone QB fan himself.
Let's not do
Delby.
this. Let's not do this.
Anyway, we got Buddha, we got Delby here. We're going to talk about a few things. Probably not going to be as long as last week, but we're still shooting for an hour because that's what we do here. We talk about football for an hour because that's what we're here for. Okay, this might take up half an hour by the time this is over.
Yeah,
Our finale of our college football series is finally here.
Let's go.
The Virginia Tech Hokies. I'm gonna let Delby go since he attends the university, and then we'll follow in from there. Delby, the floor is yours. Virginia Tech Hokies football.
Okay, so I've liked Tech for a while, and so I've gone to like the 2011 Miami game, and now that I go there, I go to all the home games. So watching Tech from then to now is so different than what it used to be, which is crazy, and it sucks too in itself. But getting on from that, I'm pretty sure it's 2000, Tech has been third in most ACC wins. They've won 3 conference titles. They had a national championship appearance. I'm pretty sure until last year, all players were taken in the draft, or we had some type of player taken in the draft, and we had the longest streak. But anyway, and with that was all. We had Beamer and Bud Foster, and we had the recruits, like David Wilson and Michael Vick and etc. Champ Bailey, all that, or not Champ Bailey. I apologize, I didn't even say that. But now we got this guy named Fuente.
Oh no!
And I can't stand the guy. I'm gonna be real with you. I can't. But I gotta respect. I do have to respect that he's gone 33-20 since he's been there. But I hate him because we had our first loss to UVA since 2003, and he flirted with that Baylor job. And also, all our recruits are going in the transfer portal. Our players we're losing a lot of recruits. We lost Josh Jackson, McLeese. Hendon Hooker even went in the transfer portal. Thank God he came back. Savoy.
Devon Hazelton.
Yep. So clearly, there's something wrong going on. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows what it is except who's in the locker room. So, and this might make Buddha mad, but I think in the future we're going to be good. I think we're going to be okay. We're not going to go downhill. The only reason why 2019 was so disappointing was because of how it ended, and it ended with a terrible loss to UVA. And
that whole season was a disappointment. The whole season was a disappointment. Come on now.
If we would have won the game against UVA, it would have been turned. It's just the UVA game.
It would have been just another year, though. It would have been just another year would be UVA. I mean,
but coming back,
except if we'd have beaten UVA, obviously we would have gotten a bid to the Orange Bowl to play Florida, which we would have lost that too. But we would have been in a New Year's Six game. When you are in a New Year's Six game versus being in a random bowl game against Kentucky, there's a difference.
But for the future, I think next year we're going to have one of the best pass defenses in the country, and then we have Hendon Hooker, who's promising. Then we have our defense with Farley, Jermaine Waller, and Tremaine Connor, and they're just dogs. And they have experience too.
Jax Hollifield too.
Yeah, our only competition really in the Coastal is North Carolina, and so I think we have a fair shot against them. But we have 82% of our returning production coming back, which is 6th in the nation. So I think if we have 9 wins last year, what can we do this year? That's all I have to say. But y'all go ahead.
All right, Buddha, shoot.
All right.
That is
Alright,
the greatest
you hear that?
moment in the history of this
Yeah.
podcast.
It is.
That's Virginia Tech football. That's what we grew up loving, watching. That's when we had Bud Foster, Frank Beamer, the prime in their careers. Thing is, we talk about Fuente, how garbage he is. I do, at least, specifically. It's because of his recruiting. He loses everyone. Back when this team was playing like they were against Nebraska in 2009, that was when you had somebody coming into your house. You had Bud Foster and Frank Beamer coming into your house. That's why we got in recruits. That's why we won games. That's
Okay, but can I say something real quick before you continue?
Yeah, I guess. You can interrupt me, I guess.
And you know I don't like Fuente, but I have to ask you this. It'll never, it takes a lot to become a Frank Beamer type coach. And so if you're hired after Beamer, you're probably not, this is just a guy that replaced Frank Beamer. It's not like he is Frank Beamer. So, yes, you're not going to get as many good recruits as...
Well, and you also have another flaw with Tech, minus the recruiting aspect of it. Even when we had the good coaching and we had the solid players like we did in these big time games, like the one against Ohio State, we beat Ohio State in Ohio State. Games like that, we would win those games and we would turn right around and lose to some garbage team. That's something that Tech fans have been used to for years. And it's still the same way. And the only way that's ever going to change, and it goes right back to Fuente, not just his recruiting aspect of coaching, his just coaching on the field, his play calling. It's horrible football to watch. It's not fun. Defense is the only part, and special teams is the only fun part. That's the only thing we still do right for the most part.
Yep.
And if we can just get rid of him, dude, the talent's there. Farley, dude, the dog, dude. People don't talk about Tech as much being DBU, but when you go to games and you see the amount of turnovers we still pick up, and we're still ranked one of the highest in college football for turnover ratios.
Yeah.
I mean, players like Farley are the reason why our defense is going to be good. And our offense is continuing to get better. We're continuing, our offensive line is continuing to get better. That's always been a big part as to why we're not successful. But I just want to get rid of, I just don't like Fuente on the coaching staff. I was never a fan when he came from Memphis, right? Memphis, that was where he came from.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea who would replace him?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Someone that
Bud
knows how to win. Someone that knows how to win and control locker room.
It should have been Bud from the entire time.
I mean, that's the reason why I think he had Foster retired kind of. I mean, not early as expected, a little bit earlier than what most people thought he would. I mean, I still think we could be good with Fuente. He just needs to realize what he does wrong. I think any coach can come back and have a good year after a crappy season or mediocre season. But I don't know. I think he has the talent and it's there. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to use guys correctly, put them in the right position to win.
Yeah. All right. I'm going back a little further than just the Fuente era. I usually do for this. Beamer took over the program in 1987, and from 87 to 92 wasn't very good. And if this was in these days, Beamer never would have lasted. The year 1993 hit, and Tech hasn't missed the postseason since. In Beamer's tenure from 87 to 2015, Tech won 7 conference titles, 3 in the Big East, 4 in the ACC. They went undefeated in 1999, 12-0, before losing to Florida State in the national championship game. Thank God Carl's not here. He'd give me a look right now. 11 bowl game victories, which is 11 out of 29, so it's not the best. 2 of which being BCS bowl victories, a program-defining Sugar Bowl win in 95 against Texas, and a 2008 or 9 win over Cincinnati. I can't remember which year it was. Tech won 238 games as a program under Frank Beamer. Had 8 straight 10-win seasons from 2004 to 2011. He owned Virginia in the Commonwealth Clash, winning 20 of 29 and his last 12 from 2004 to 2015.
A dog.
In the postseason from 2008, which was the loss against Kansas in the Orange Bowl, to 2012 in the game that we don't talk about, played in 4 BCS bowl games in 5 seasons. I think it was 3 Orange Bowls and 1 Sugar Bowl. That was Tech's dominance under Frank Beamer. was that kind of time frame. And when you win at minimum 80 games in a 2004 to 2011 win span, you're doing something right. Beamer retired obviously after the 2015 year and was replaced by Justin Fuente. But when you look at his first 2 years, it was Tech's best season since 2011-2012. But Frank Beamer's recruits, keep that in mind. Tech went 19-8 with the bowl victory over Arkansas, 31-24 in 2016, and a Oklahoma State loss in the Camping World Bowl in 2017, 30-21. 2016 was the best team Tech has had since 2012. They were led by quarterback Gerard Evans and a tenacious defense. Tech ran over the Coastal except for Georgia Tech because, Tech can never stop the triple option crap.
Never.
Won their first division title since 2012. And the most impressive thing about that year, to me, is that they went toe-for-toe, kept up with the eventual national champions, Deshaun Watson and the Clemson Tigers. 42-35 loss. Always impressive. 2017, new quarterback as Gerard Evans left for the NFL. What a yikes that was. Josh Jackson, Tech went 9-4. It was a pretty good year. They didn't make the ACC title game because of Miami was so good that year. But, you go 19-8 in your first 2 years in a big-time program. You're like, yeah, we got a guy here. No. 2018 was, in my opinion, the worst year. 2018, the year and the following offseason was the worst dark days in the history of Virginia Tech football. They went 6-7, which was their first losing season since 1992. The only thing that saved Fuente's job that year was that he beat Virginia and he kept the bowl streak alive. If he would have lost to Virginia and the bowl streak would have ended, he wouldn't be the coach right now.
Nope.
Then came that offseason. I don't know if y'all have heard about this, but there were players on Tech's program, some of the ones that transferred, that were throwing the game against Marshall because they didn't want to play anymore under Fuente. Players were asking to lose a game against Marshall. That's when you know this is bad. At one point,
season, especially ECU,
Tech had 14 players in the transfer portal after the 2018 season, including 5 in a 48-hour span.
Talks a lot about the coaching.
In a span of 16 months, Virginia Tech lost 22 players off of their roster due to dismissal, transfer portal, or academic ineligibility. It got to the point where Fuente had to call a team meeting and go, what is going on? Because you don't have that. Tech's not the greatest Power 5 school on the face of the planet, but they're a Power 5 school. When you think of the ACC, you think about Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Florida State. You can put Miami in there too. But those top three specifically, who are the top three in wins in the last 10 years. So it was very, very bad. They came in the last year. I wasn't expecting much, to be quite honest with you. But they went 8-5. They started off very poorly, including that 14-0 deficit to Furman that had me up in arms. I was so mad. I was chanting the Fire Fuente all day long, Saturday night long.
Yeah.
But it's crazy what happens when you bench Ryan Willis and bring in Hendon Hooker, who played his butt off. Got Tech to that massive game against Virginia, which they ended up losing, which what irritates me, Hendon Hooker had his best game of his career in that game, but Tech came out so unprepared and they were down early. How do you not prepare your team for your biggest game of the year? One, it's your arch rival, and two, if you win the game, you're going to the ACC Championship and probably the Orange Bowl, because Clemson's going to be in the playoffs.
Yep.
How do you not prepare your team for that? How are you not prepared for your arch rival? I do not get it. Coming into this year, like Delby said, it's got a lot of promise. And by this year, I mean spring, because we're not having college football in the fall. Let's just say that now. Caleb Farley, a couple other players. I kind of focus on Farley because the 2019 draft Tech had no players drafted for the first time, and God knows how when. They did have one last year. I think it was Dalton Keene, tied in to the Patriots in the third round. But when you look at this year, they have a mid-first-round talent in Caleb Farley. He's one of the best defensive backs in the country. if not the best in the ACC. So they got him. They got Dax Hollifield. They got Ashby. So they're returning 9 starters on defense. So they'll be fine on defense. It's just the transition away from Bud Foster that kind of concerns me. But there's the talent is there. Offensively, Hendon Hooker in his first full year as a starter. You got Quincy Patterson behind him coming in situations. Behind Quincy is Braxton Burmeister, and I'm telling you now, for the love and sanity of all Tech fans, pray that man never sees the field. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And your receivers, you got Trey Turner, who's obviously the number one, and bringing in some other guys. The running back position, Tech hasn't had an elite running game since David Wilson, and it will remain that way until a long time from now. But it's just Fuente. I mean, he brought in a 4-star cornerback recruit from in California, Tech's first ever actual recruit from the West Coast, which is impressive. They got a big-time recruit yesterday, and Curry, 4-star receiver that chose Tech over Georgia of all teams, and Georgia gets a crap ton of recruits. So it's on the up. It's just whether they can be kept on the verbal commitment until National Signing Day. That's the issue.
Yep.
But as far as when it comes to Virginia Tech, I could see an 8-9, possibly even if they get lucky, 10 wins. Obviously, if you're going conference, you're only going to be playing 8 conference games. So 8 wins, would be undefeated, which I think Tech will lose in a conference game to a team they shouldn't lose to. But that's just Tech. We all know this. If we're playing 8 games, I see 6-2, maybe 7-1. It just depends. Tech's program-defining game is not anymore, which hurts. But I said before, if that game wasn't going to be in front of a packed crowd at night at Lane Stadium, there's no need for it to be played.
Yeah.
So that's Virginia Tech. I think we're all kind of on the same opinion that we all dislike Justin Fuente very, very much. But yeah, that was Virginia Tech, and that took 17 minutes, as expected. Probably the longest college football segment. All right.
Let's go. Okay.
Yes,
All right. Now we're going to go to one of the rivals of y'all's 2 teams. Delby, this is your topic, Mr. Daniel Jones himself.
Oh, no.
Okay, so the reason why I didn't pick Saquon is just because that's what everybody thinks about when you think of the Giants. So I wanted to kind of...
Nah, dude. I think about Danny Dimes.
No, you don't.
100%.
No, you
Dimes.
don't. No, you don't.
All right.
Anyway, I don't know how I feel about him. I think right now, I don't think he's the best quarterback, but I think he has promised to be an eventual good quarterback. So he started 12 games last year. And the Giants this offseason invested heavily up front when they signed with signing Cameron Fleming, and then with the 4th overall pick, which was kind of surprising, but I kind of like the pick. They took Andrew Thomas from Auburn.
As much as, not to interrupt you, I just want to add this 2 cents on the Giants with the drafting. I'm sorry, and I know you have a left tackle need and you want to protect your guy, but you have one of the worst defenses in the league. Yes. And Isaiah Simmons as is Derek Brown. Derek Brown, who the Panthers took. Isaiah Simmons and Derek Brown are sitting there.
Cardinals got a steal on the
don't start with me about that. Isaiah Simmons should have been the draft pick at 4 for the Giants. I know how Dave Gettleman is. He used to general manage my team. He likes hog mollies up front. He likes big offensive linemen, which is funny because he never drafted an offensive lineman in the first round when he was with us to protect Cam. Imagine that. But I, of course, like the pick because it's a need, but sometimes you got to go with best available player like the Cowboys did. Anyway, continue.
But with that, Daniel Jones was pressured on 42% of his dropbacks. So I agree with you, though. I think they should have picked Simmons with that pick and then got a tackle or an offensive lineman later on in the draft, which I think they could have done.
Oh, 100%. Also, the offensive tackle they chose wasn't even the best in the draft who went to Tampa Bay. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, I know. But with the Giants, so they have a good group of skills players. I don't think they did a good job upgrading, at least maybe like one wide receiver. But they have Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram, and then of course they have Saquon. But with Daniel Jones, he was very careless with the football, with 18 fumbles last season. So I think if he kind of works on his decision making with the ball, and when he's in the pocket, and I think, like you said, Biggie, the Giants need a way better defense. But maybe just upgrade his receivers and maybe the rest of the offensive line, and they got a solid team. But like I said, they can have a solid offense, but they need a solid defense too. But I think Daniel Jones is, if they can do that and he continues to play with the Giants, then and doesn't get injured, I think he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, before I go into Daniel Jones, let's talk about the Giants for a second. When you look at in this division, you look at offensively, they're getting there. But when you got Washington, and I'm still getting used to calling them that until they come out with their name change. With Washington has potentially a top 5 defense. Like, it's scary. It's scary. It's got scary level potential. The Eagles have one of the more underrated defenses in the NFL, in my opinion. And the Cowboys have top 10 defense in the league, in my opinion. They just have so much talent. The only issue with Dallas on the defensive side of the ball is their corners. But I think Philly is good on defense. Dallas is really good on defense, and Washington has potential. So you got to have the offense, and they're trying to put that together. I still don't agree with trading away OBJ. They never should have done that in a million years. But
I agree.
I think they should have. I don't like OBJ.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not my favorite, but when it comes to their defense,
kicking nets, bro.
Here's the problem with them on defense, though. When you look at Washington, you have Haskins, who's didn't really get a fair shot last year, so we don't really know how he is. But they have Terry McLaurin, who's insane. I love Terry McLaurin. So Washington isn't terrible with their weapons, except for Kelvin Harmon, one of their other receivers, tore his ACL yesterday, so that hurts. When it comes to the other two, though, if you were not able to play defense when you're playing Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott, you're done.
Yep.
Because you look at the Eagles side of things, you got Miles Sanders, who's underrated. The receivers are still a bit of a question with Philly, but we'll see. And I don't need to go into Dallas's offense. I've done it before. It's top 10 in the league. Just leave it at that. So with the Giants, they still got a lot to make. They're the worst team in this division. But let's get into Daniel Jones. They shocked the league in 2019 when they took him with the 6th overall pick. When they had a 17th overall later on, they probably could have got him there too. In 3 years at Duke, he threw for over 8,000 yards, 52 touchdowns, and 29 interceptions, but had a 59.9% completion percentage. For those who aren't aware of like completion percentages and stuff, Carl would be losing his mind right now. He loves dogs. Carl would be losing his mind. 59.9% completion percentage is less than 60% of your passes. Like, you're getting lower to half. So, not very good, but then again, Duke doesn't really get the best recruits. So, it's not really all on him, but it's still not good, you know. Duke was 17 and 19, so that kind of goes into my point that he wasn't on very good teams. Last year, as Delby said, he started 12 games. He threw for over 3,000 yards, a 61.9% completion percentage. So he still needs to work on his decision making. But again, you can't really doubt a rookie who, rookies don't have the best completion percentages usually.
Yeah.
24 touchdowns and 12 picks, but Delby also mentioned 18 fumbles. Team went 3-9, but as we've discussed, Giants are not very good outside of Saquon. So, and it didn't help that Daniel Jones had 3 games without him. So, I mean, that's that. He was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 3, and the Giants win over Tampa. He went 23 of 36 for 336 and 2 touchdowns. His best overall game came in Week 16 against Washington, where he threw for over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns with no interceptions. So he's got potential. He came out last year and showed me and a lot of other people that gave the Giants a bunch of crap. He was better than Haskins. Obviously, he wasn't better than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's the cream of the crop there for that draft class. But Daniel Jones was better than a lot of people thought he would, including myself. Which the Giants and Gettleman got a lot of whiplash. After Eli retired last year, Jones and Barkley are the future. Barkley is an elite running back. In my opinion, he's the number 2 running back in the league, behind Christian McCaffrey and 1 spot ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. They have the potential, and Jones has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. He showed it a little bit last year. They could build their whole team around Daniel Jones and Saquon if they're smart. The only issue is they're wasting Saquon's rookie contract. And they're going to have to pay him soon, and he's going to get up in the 15.
He deserves to get paid.
Oh, he does, 100%. He is going to get McCaffrey money, 15, 16, probably 17, because the Giants don't care. But yeah, he totally deserves to get paid. He's second best back in the league. I think Barkley rebounds, honestly. I think he plays all 16, if we have all 16, which I think we will. Off his 2018 success, Jones improves. The Giants do find a little more success, but I still see them having a top 10 pick, just because if your name is not Philadelphia or Dallas, you stand no chance in the NFC East. And that's it on Daniel Jones. Buddha, take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, with the Giants, though, like, especially with Daniel Jones, the Giants are always like a tough team to play, especially if you're in the NFC East. Sorry, not a tough team to play for everybody, specifically for the NFC East teams. Like, most of them struggle. Even, like, the big-time teams that win the big games. Like, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the score of the Eagles on the Super Bowl. Not just pointing out your team, Delby, but when y'all went to the Super Bowl, y'all had a tough time, I think, in one of the weeks beating them.
Yeah, dude, we had to come beat them in overtime last year.
Last year, too.
Yeah.
Dallas struggled. Because the thing with the Giants is, and I always talk about this, Saquon Barkley, he's like a generational talent. Guys, the kind of player where you have to watch out every single week because he may not do it every single game, but it takes one play and he'll bust a 64-yard touchdown, may bust 2 in a game. But then again, he may go through a drought where he doesn't really play well for a few games, which he's proven he's done. Which is why I think he'll get his money, but I don't think he'll get like record-breaking type money for running backs. But sorry, I was a little bit off the topic of Daniel Jones.
I
think
Daniel back before we transition back. You're wrong. That's all I have to say.
I do want to touch on one thing though. If you asked me right now who's worth Christian McCaffrey money, and by that I mean 16, and Zeke isn't involved in this because he already has his money. If you ask me who's more worth McCaffrey money, Saquon or Dalvin Cook, it's Saquon 100%. I like Dalvin Cook, and he deserves it like 14, 15 around Zeke's number, but Saquon's the only back in the league I think that should make as much as McCaffrey is going to make coming into this season. I don't know if his current extension goes into effect this year or the following year. I think it's the following. I think that's how it works. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think this back is worth 16, but I think he's worth around Zeke money, and this is coming from me, and that's Alvin Kamara. Kamara's a lot better than people give him credit for, but he's not Saquon or McCaffrey. I'll say that. All right, we're getting too far off topic. Buddha, go ahead.
But yeah, with Daniel Jones, I mean, like, really has showed promise. I think if you give him an offensive line that's better than just mediocre, you give him a few players, and you free agency and a draft for the next couple of years. I mean, besides the fumble problem, I think that happens for a lot of quarterbacks in the league when they transition from college to the NFL. Game's a lot faster. You can't necessarily break out and run and scramble quite like you could for 25 yards when you played in college. Defensive linemen are much quicker. They catch up to you behind your back. They knock it out. And Dallas played the Giants. If the Giants wouldn't have had as many turnovers this past season, and I think it was the first time we played them, they probably would have won the game because Daniel Jones, he was making good plays. Saquon was having the game probably the season. But the fumble problem, you can get over that. That can be worked on. That can be coached. I think, like you said, I don't think they'll ever have this success in Dallas or Philadelphia. It's just not going to happen. They're way too talented. They're way too good. Unless it's some upset, which the Giants are prone to doing that kind of thing. You should ask the Patriots about that. But
different team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think they'll probably come third in the NFC East. But I think the Giants will have I'll be above mediocre season. Daniel Jones, he'll probably climb up the ladder a little bit and probably get a little bit better. But, I mean, I think he'll probably stay where he's at right now, which is mediocre, which is the only thing he can do. That's all that's given to him right now. But we'll see.
Let me tell you the order of the NFC East real quick before anyone says anything.
Alrighty.
4 will be the Giants. 3 will be Washington. 2 will be Dallas, and 1 will be Philly. I had to correct you there because you said you said Washington would be 4th, so I wanted to make sure you knew.
Yeah, I think Washington's not as good as the Giants.
I think here's the thing though. The Giants have the better offense, but as everybody has said, defense wins championships. Obviously, Washington's still a little unproven, but they have a very good defensive coach now. I honestly think it will come down to, can the Giants score on Washington's defense, and can Washington stop Saquon?
Yeah, exactly. Which Chase Young can only do so much for the defense. I think he's going to make a lot of plays and do well, but he can only do so much. He's just one player.
Yeah, I mean, they got more than one player, but regardless.
Who else on the defense is even noteworthy? Ryan Kerrigan's gone.
He's still there.
He's not fully retired.
No, he's still there. Ryan Kerrigan, Montez Sweat, Payne.
You sure?
Pretty sure he didn't.
I'm going to look it up. Go ahead and keep talking.
You continue, though. Keep going.
He might have. Ryan Kerrigan's still active, man.
Oh, dang. Well,
yes.
That went. Dang, I thought I heard something about him. But either way, that's all they really have, though. I mean, they don't really have good DBs.
So we'll see. And then what I find funny is they traded away Kendall Fuller a couple of years ago for Alex Smith. Kendall Fuller makes the game-winning interception in the Super Bowl and then gets banked and comes back to Washington. Smart business decision, Kendall Fuller. Yeah, that's kind of it on Daniel Jones. Let me check this little update real quick because I saw it before we got on. There's something about Derrick Henry.
Either signed or he didn't.
Yeah, Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans are finalizing a contract extension long-term before the 4 p.m. deadline today. So he will be under contract long-term for Tennessee, along with Ryan Tannehill, who they signed last offseason. Meaning they're not going to have any more money for the foreseeable future. But
before I want to say they should have paid him. I don't think they should have paid Tannehill, but I think they should have paid Derrick.
The only issue with paying Derrick Henry, and the terms aren't out, so we'll see how much they give him. If they give him up near McCaffrey money, I'm going to roast the crap out of them. Because you can only bring a big, strong back up the middle so many times before wear and tear gets to him.
Yes.
So
that's not his fault.
No, it's not. But, we talk about Tannehill, you know how he hands the ball off 30 times a game. Speaking of quarterbacks that like to do that, Jimmy G.
All right. Word.
Buddha, this is yours. Fire away.
I know, man. So, Jimmy G. All right. Dude won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Obviously, backing up Tom Brady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
I was like, he didn't do anything. My bad.
Whoa. Dude, he still has 2 Super Bowl rings, buddy. Realize that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's back it up. Interruption. It's all good then. Jimmy G. His stats for every single season, they're kind of interesting considering the circumstances. So we're going to start off with 2019 this past season.
To be fair on it though, like the 2019 is really the only one you can judge. because
Exactly.
2017 he played 5 games after he got traded. 2018 he played 3 games before tearing his ACL. So you can really only judge one season.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And both times when he was playing, he went 7-0 for that one season and 8-0 for one season. He started the season that way, which I think he was the first besides Ben Roethlisberger.
It was 5-0 the year he tore his ACL.
Yeah,
and it was 8-0 the last year.
and he was the only person to do that besides Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
but then 2019, he throws for a crazy amount of yards, which is 3,978, which is, I mean,
it's pretty above average nowadays, unless your name is Brady, Wilson, Mahomes, Rodgers. Going on. Anyway.
And I think with me, that's the thing. A lot of people like to compare Tannehill to Jimmy G, saying that offenses are kind of schemed around maybe handing the ball off a little bit. But I think Jimmy G, he's proved that he can make it all the way to big games. It's just a matter of winning them now, winning that Super Bowl.
To be fair, if they were facing anyone else beside Patrick Mahomes, they would have won the Super Bowl and would have had 6. Just going to point that out there.
Exactly. They had the talent to do it. I mean, I don't think he's going to regress and just do worse. I think
I agree with you. I agree with you that he's not going to regress. But there's one problem.
What?
They play in the same division as Russell Wilson.
Okay.
With Seattle. And I've said Seattle, to me, right now is the NFC favorite. And I say that because I don't trust Green Bay. I don't trust the Saints in the playoffs because if they run into Minnesota, they're out. And as far as the NFC East winner goes, I don't know. It depends on the record. It depends. There'll be no offense. It depends if Carson Wentz can stay healthy and if Dallas can get over the 8-8 hump that they've been stuck in for the last 20-something years.
Whoa.
Don't even comment.
Don't comment. We just won a playoff game like 2 years ago. You're tripping.
I know, but you've been average most of the time.
Congrats. But you didn't make it to the NFC Championship.
You can't say that we've just gone 8-8 for the past 27
I didn't say that. I said most of the time.
We played the Packers in the divisional.
Lost
the game. Doesn't matter. Still got there. What was the record for that season? It was much better than 8-8.
Okay, maybe you shouldn't have said every at the past 20 years, but a lot of the years.
Yes, that's what I meant. I didn't mean every year.
Yeah, so was the NFC East. They've actually been worse. They've had a lot worse season besides the NFC, besides the Super Bowl win. That's about it. That's the only good season y'all had.
You're tripping, dude.
Not true, but anyway. Anyway. But yeah, Jimmy G, I mean, I'll be honest with you. He gets paid way too much to hand the ball off to Mostert 30 times a game. And I'll get to the NFC title game here in a moment because that's my main issue. Jimmy G drafted as the heir apparent to Tom Brady with the 62nd overall pick in 2014 by the New England Patriots. Yeah, he wasn't the heir apparent because you looked at Brady and Kraft and they wanted him out of there, and Brady and Bill Belichick wanted him there, and it was a dumpster fire. He went to Northern Illinois, played 4 seasons there. He threw for over 13,000 yards, a 62.8% completion percentage, and 118 touchdowns. His best season was his senior year, and it showed why he was taken in the second round. He threw for over 5,000 yards and 59 touchdowns. That same year, he also broke the career school record for completions.
Over Tony Romo.
Was previously held by former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo. As you said, he didn't see the field much, if at all, due to Brady. He saw his first action when Brady was handed down a 4-game suspension for his role in Deflategate, which honestly, yeah, they cheated, but it didn't make a matter of a difference because the Colts never stood a chance in that game. And if you ask any Colts fan, they'll say the same thing. He played in 2 games because he sprained his ankle, and then Jacoby Brissett played in the other 2, and Jacoby's now in Indy. So Garoppolo threw for 496, a 71% completion percentage, and 4 touchdowns. I will give Garoppolo thing on one credit. He's very accurate with the football. He doesn't throw a lot of picks.
What you want?
He was traded to San Francisco in October of 2017 for a second-round pick. That pick was traded to the Lions, who took Kerryon Johnson. So I say San Francisco won the deal. He started the last 5 games in 2017, and he threw for over 1,500 yards, a 67% completion percentage, and 6 touchdowns, and did not lose. Was 5-0. The San Francisco 49ers have had their franchise quarterback for the first time since Steve Young, because I really never considered Alex Smith or Colin Kaepernick a franchise guy. Before the 2018 season, he inked a 5-year, $137.5 million contract that equals up to $27 per year. He only played 3 games the following season due to tearing his ACL in Week 3 against Kansas City, and if I remember correctly, that was the first game. That was the second game where Mahomes threw for like 500 yards or something. So, as I said, 2019 is his first full year, so it's really the only one you can judge him on. He threw for over 3,900 yards, a 69.1% completion percentage. His career completion percentage kind of hangs around 69 to 71%, which is top tier for most quarterbacks. And 27 touchdowns led the Niners to a 13-3 record, an NFC West divisional title, and a first-round bye in the playoffs. In their first playoff win against Minnesota, he only threw for 131 yards and 1 touchdown, which is kind of an oof. That's nothing. Next week against Green Bay, this man went 6 of 8 for 77 yards and no touchdowns. How you going to be a franchise quarterback who's getting paid $27 million a season to throw 8 passes in a conference championship game? Now, I get that Raheem Mostert ran for 285 on 42 carries.
Yeah, they killed the Packers, though.
But here's my thing. If they played any other team, they probably would have lost. Like, you got to be kidding me. You throw 8 times for 77 yards in a conference championship game.
Biggie, here's my question. Did they win the game?
Of course they won the game.
But do you know what coaches do for every single week? There's a different scheme for every single team. That's probably part of the scheme. He still went 6 for 8. He's still doing what the coaches told him to do. That's almost perfect. 2 throws away from nearly being perfect.
It is true. I can agree to that because they didn't throw the ball.
Like, who gives a crap if he doesn't hand the ball off? The dude won the game and took a team to a Super Bowl.
But did they not run the ball? Did they run the ball because of Jimmy Garoppolo, or did they run the ball because they thought it would exploit the Packers defense?
I think they ran the ball because I think they were going to exploit the Packers defense. So that's what she did, and obviously it was successful because they did a damn good job.
Okay.
So, I just think it's kind of abysmal for a guy that's getting paid that much, but I also agree with y'all's points.
How many other games has he thrown under 15 passes?
There was a few last year, but the only way I only point that game out specifically because it was for a chance to go to the Super Bowl, which they won. I'll give them that. Anyway, to the Super Bowl, by the way, he threw for over 219, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. It was one of his better passing games, best of his playoff career anyway. But I'm telling you, you throw 2 interceptions and give the ball back on a short field to Patrick Mahomes, I don't care how good your defense is. And San Francisco's defense is elite. Let's not get that confused. It didn't matter. You get the ball to Mahomes 2 extra times, there's a reason they lost. You can't throw picks against Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
So they blew a lead, and Kyle Shanahan has showed before him, hi Atlanta, that he can't hold leads in a Super Bowl. This one he let up a 10, and we all know about the 28-3 stuff, and my Falcon friends are probably flipping me off right now. But 2020, I do think he's got to consistently push the ball downfield some more. They drafted Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State, who's a big, deep threat. They have Deebo Samuel there. I talked about Raheem Mostert. He requested a trade a couple weeks back. They have Tevin Coleman there, but he's going to have to push the ball downfield a little more, especially if they get back to the playoffs, which I expect them to. I don't think they'll win the division again. I think Seattle will. I think San Francisco will be fine. I don't think they'll go 13-3 again, but 10-5, 11-6. Sorry, 10-5, 10-6, 11-5. It's kind of what I see for them. Again, they're going to rely on that defense. And yes, they traded away DeForest Buckner, but they immediately replaced him with Kinlaw. They still have Armstead. They still have Bosa. Yeah, they have D Ford. They have Sherman, who got torched in the Super Bowl by Tyreek Hill, but who doesn't get torched by Tyreek Hill. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Jimmy G. I think he's definitely got to – his completion percentage is fantastic, but he's got to be able to push the ball downfield some more. But they blew Green Bay out, but that was just because I think Green Bay had no business being in that game. But that's that. Delby, what are your thoughts?
So when you see his numbers, it's really surprising, I guess. Like the numbers y'all have already stated. But he ranked 12th in QBR last year, which isn't terrible. Like, it isn't bad. And he's 21-5 as a starter, which I think is pretty good. And he led his team to the Super Bowl the year after he tore his ACL. But the thing that gets me about him and why I don't think he can be called elite is he isn't a game manager like Brady. He's more of a system QB, and you really saw that in the Super Bowl when it came to crunch time. He didn't show up, and that's why I don't think he's proven himself to show up in any of the big games. Like Biggie said, like against the Packers to go to the Super Bowl or even the Super Bowl game when. But I understand the Super Bowl game because they did go up against Patrick Mahomes, and also I don't think he's worth the money when they paid him then. I don't think he's worth the money they pay him now, at least.
Or life.
Because he when they paid him, they barely saw him play at all. Like not even that much. So I think it was stupid by them to jump on board like that so quick. And still, even now, though, after seeing him play one full season, even though they did get to the Super Bowl, yes, but I still don't think he's worth. I don't think he's worth more than Dak. So, but
Oh no, not a chance.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that he fits in the system, and that's why the team does well. But I don't think he can show up and prove to be an elite quarterback and be paid like one either. So.
Personally, like I said, he makes 27. If he's making 27, Dak's making 31 this year, and obviously the trade deadline thing is going to pass in 3 minutes, and Dallas is still so far apart, so that's not happening. Dak is playing on that $31.5 million franchise tag.
It's be a Kirk Cousins situation, I'm telling you.
Oh, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Dak's never leaving Texas, dog.
Shut your mouth.
He's never leaving.
Yes,
he's never leaving. Dude, shut up. Shut up.
Anyway.
Dude, saying Dak Prescott's going to get traded away is like saying Carson Wentz is
not traded during the season. Somewhere else.
You're saying Dak's going to sign somewhere else is like saying Carson Wentz is going to play an entire season.
God, I wish
it never happens.
These are the moments where I wish I could cuss. But I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like we said, when it comes to Jimmy G, that's just kind of how it is. He's not average, but he's not great. He's kind of in the good territory. But he did have a hand in leading his team to a Super Bowl appearance. Now here's the thing, and I've talked about this in the past. Unless your name is the New England Patriots, people don't care if you lost the Super Bowl. The last time a losing team got back to the Super Bowl the year after losing it was the Bills when they went to 4 straight and lost all 4 of them.
You love to see it.
So, I just, I don't see it. I don't see them getting back there because it's so difficult to get back there anyway. But that's that. No, mention Seattle. Speaking of the Seahawks, oh boy. In my opinion, the best secondary group in the history of the National Football League, the Legion of Boom. Featuring, for the most part, 3 people, but I'll put in Byron Maxwell here too. Featuring, for the most part, cornerback Richard Sherman and safeties Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas. If you ask me, Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas is the best safety duo of all time. It can be argued, but that's my opinion. Here's my thing about it. Earl Thomas was selected 14th overall in 2010. He is the only one of these guys who was taken in the first round, let alone the first 2 days of the draft. Richard Sherman was drafted by Seattle in that stacked 2011 class with the 154th overall pick. Cam Chancellor was taken with the 133rd overall pick in 2010 out of Virginia Tech. Cam's a dog, by the way. And Maxwell was taken 173rd overall in 2011. So everyone but Thomas was a day 3 selection. Yeah, and a lot of teams came to regret this. During the LOB era, Seattle had 6 straight winning seasons. By the way, that's 2011 through 2018, by the way. 3 NFC West titles, 2 NFC titles, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and an absolute dominant Super Bowl victory in 2013 over the Peyton Manning-led Broncos.
They should have beat the Patriots, too.
Agreed, because Pete Carroll's an idiot. And for a 3-year span from 2012 to 2015, Seattle led the league in scoring, defense, and the fewest points scored for 4 years in a row. In 2013, they led the league in points allowed, yards allowed, and takeaways. They are the first team to do that since, in my opinion, the greatest defense to ever play the game of football, the 1985 Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
The 4 combined for 20 interceptions alone in 2013. Richard Sherman with 8, Thomas with 5, Cam with 3, and Maxwell with 4. What made them mostly dangerous was the safety duo. Cam and Thomas are widely regarded as one of the best duos of all time, like I said. Chancellor's ability to go sideline to sideline, along with his ability to just knock people
out. Knock the piss out of people.
Knock them out.
So that was what made him so special. And Earl Thomas just had... He could be on the opposite side of the hash mark and then be in the back corner of the end zone in about a couple seconds. Sherman and Thomas were first-team All-Pros in 2013 and 2014, while Cam Chancellor made second-team in both those years. In 2013, they allowed the fewest passing yards and passing touchdowns. The Super Bowl against Peyton Manning comes as the most dominant, though, because Peyton Manning threw for over 5,000 yards and 55 touchdowns in a record-setting year. You wouldn't know about a game. They only allowed 8 points, picked him off twice, and forced 2 fumbles. In their respective runs, 9 years for Earl Thomas in Seattle, he had 28 interceptions. Sherman added 32 in 7 years. Cam added 12, and Maxwell had 7. The whole era combined for 79 interceptions. Now, none remain in Seattle. Sherman is in San Francisco. Earl Thomas is in Baltimore. Byron Maxwell no longer plays in the league, and Cam Chancellor retired due to injury issues. But regardless, best secondary unit of all time, and that's all I got on them.
Yeah, so you touched on some things that I was going to say, but because they played a total of 81 starts together. This was, I thought, was crazy. They combined for 14 Pro Bowls and 6 first-team All-Pros. It's pretty damn good. They had 79 total interceptions. I think they're either the first or second best defense of the decade, them or the Denver Broncos team.
Fair.
Year in 2015. But I do believe that 2013 team was the best team in the decade, and I've told you that. But what I liked about them is they just brought back the tough, gritty, hard-hitting football that everyone loves. And they were just so dominant, and everyone first of all, no one wants to go in Seattle and play anyway, but when you have to play the Legion of Boom on top of that, it's hard to win a game. So
don't test me with a star receiver like Crabtree.
Fact.
That's the result you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Memorable, man.
Also, just to say, Seattle and San Francisco rivalry is one of the best in football. Just going to point that out there.
Indeed.
Yes, now it is.
I mean, it was back in 2013 and 14, too, so.
Yeah. Well, they weren't good for a couple of years, but I get what you're saying. But you go ahead, buddy. I'm done.
Nah, dude. I mean, I think I pretty much covered it. I mean, Cam Chancellor, he's always been one of my favorite defensive players to ever come out of Tech. He always tried to emulate his game like Sean Taylor, and I definitely think he proved that him and Sean Taylor resemble each other quite a bit, especially when it comes to his ability to knock people and that bounce their heads off the canvas, as Conor McGregor would say.
Yes.
But I mean, that was just a special defense. And when you were watching it, it wasn't like we say knock the piss out of each other, like saying these guys were just cracking guys. It wasn't like they were out there to just injure people. They were just a fun defense that just liked to play football, man. And they knew how to play it well. And I mean, just when you have a defense like that, where you're not going to worry about a team dropping over 14 on you a game, if that, your offense is obviously going to be successful, no matter really what offense you have. That's what makes the Legion of Boom so special. And I think they actually topped the Broncos defense over in 2015, but that's just my opinion.
I agree. I think 2013 Seattle's defense is better than the Broncos 2015.
When you hold Peyton Manning to 8 points,
Prime Peyton Manning.
I mean, that's unheard of. The dude was the sheriff for a reason.
Top. I said I was saying that I didn't have a solid answer for them. I didn't know.
Oh, no, but yeah.
Also, just came out from Adam Schefter. The terms are still, the money is still up in the air, but it is a 4-year extension for Tennessee Titans running back Derrick Henry.
So I don't think it'll be that much money then.
Just so, give me one.
I hope it's not.
Yeah. Just so you know, Christian McCaffrey's was 4 years, 64. Which goes out to $16 million a year. So out of that, I personally think it'll be a little lower than that. I would hope.
I think it'll be lower. Maybe, what do you think, like 58 or 60?
Kind of anywhere between 55 and 60. Is kind of where I'd put it.
Yeah.
If Derrick Henry is getting $60 million, there is no excuse why Saquon shouldn't get the same money as McCaffrey. And it wouldn't shock me if the Giants gave him more, to be honest with you.
New York loves him.
McCaffrey's number one, though.
Here's the thing, though. It's like, and I said this last night, and Carl will agree with me on this, too. The top 3 running backs in the league, to me, are McCaffrey, Saquon, and Zeke. So, when it comes to the others, Derrick Henry's had this one really good year. Dalvin Cook's had this one really good year. Nick Chubb's had this one really good year. Like, all these backs that could be in tension with Zeke's spot right now have had one really good year and not really much else. Zeke's been consistent through his first 3 years in the 3 years in the league. And McCaffrey's and Saquon's. The thing that irritates me most about the arguments I see against McCaffrey, and I love exposing people that say this, is the fact they say, oh, he can't run, he's only a receiving back. Yeah, last time I checked, running for 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons means you can run the football, especially at his height and his size. That's... But, hey, people are going to have their opinions, and I try to respect everybody's, but if it's stupid, I'm going to call you out on it. It's that simple.
Hey, football's just getting closer and closer to being played, boys.
Thank God, I'm ready, man. Just to go into one more final thing, Buddha and I kind of did this last week, where we went over like a college prospect, a well-known one. Last week it was Penei Sewell. This week, let's see, go into a college prospect. I don't know how much y'all know about him, and he's not really a prospect yet, but his name is Derek Stingley Jr., He's defensive back out of LSU.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, best corner in the country. He's up.
He's a dog.
Yeah,
I've watched his highlights before.
Yeah, he got torched by Devontae Smith in the Bama game last year, but it's Devontae Smith. That dude is the college version of Tyreek Hill. He torches everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, Derek Stingley Jr. is one of the best I've ever seen in the college game. He's going to be a top 10 pick when he comes out in 2022. There's a lot more talent at the corner position in the college game now than there used to be. You basically see a corner go. You basically see 2 corners go in the top 10 every year at this point.
Kuda's about to be a dog.
Yeah. I agree. I of course feel sorry for him that he got drafted by Detroit, but that's a well-known topic that I've been into about Barry and Calvin Johnson. All right, I saw this. I think it was the other day. It was something. It was like 4 running backs, and it was like all in their prime who would be out, and it was Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, Emmitt Smith, and Walter Payton. Easy. Emmitt Smith, bye-bye.
Yes.
Like, look, I of course respect Emmett, and he's a great back, but he's not Walter, he's not Barry, and Bo Jackson was a damn freak.
Buddha, would you like to say anything?
See, Bo Jackson goes into like the LeBron James category for me. As
Here we go.
He's a generational, if not like one of the most athletic dudes of all time. You're gonna tell me you're gonna delete Emmitt Smith out of the picture? How many Super Bowls did Bo Jackson win?
I don't care.
In his career.
Buddha, let me remind you this. Let me remind you this one simple thing that we've talked about maybe the last.
Don't say without the offensive line, because if you watch Emmitt Smith play, his yards after contact, were insane.
I'm not going to say that. The reason why Bo Jackson is in front of Emmitt Smith is the same reason why LeBron is in front of Kobe.
Oh my gosh, we're not doing it. We're not doing
Don't
it.
compare. Don't compare. I compare back, baby. I'm ready.
No, then you compare it sports now. Everyone knows that Kobe's right above LeBron. It goes MJ, Kobe, LeBron. It's simple. Mamba mentality. Was a dog. Always going to be LeBron James. Always be better than LeBron James.
Okay, but what I'm saying is Bo Jackson was a dog.
He was a dog. Do I think he's better than Emmitt Smith? No.
He was.
No.
Okay, I can respect your opinion, just as long as you don't say Emmett's above Barry or Walter, then we'll be fine.
Never would do that.
Walter was the best.
Sweetness. Come on now.
Walter, like,
absolutely.
I tell anybody that listens, if you've never seen Walter Payton highlights, just go look at him. That dude, he was so hard to bring down. He was a long time ahead of his time. He would be great today, in today's game.
Yeah.
But I will say this. This was fun. That is going to do it for episode 7 of the Boyz podcast.
Yes,
hopefully, we'll have 4. Carl and I might try to do one with just us next week, but we'll see, which means we'll probably do 2 next week.
I'll try to do one while I'm at the beach as well, so we can have full capacity.
So hopefully, since you're going to be at the beach, hopefully we can get the 4 of us back soon. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Boyz the Podcast. That's Delby, that's Buddha, this is Big E. We will see y'all next time. #the Boyz. Peace out.
Yes, sir.
Good to be back.
Yes, sir.